Have you ever felt like you had to be tough to be loved or overachieve just to belong? You're not alone, and it's not your fault. In the next 30 minutes, you'll learn one simple shift to start reconnecting with your softer, more magnetic feminine energy. Even if you have spent years, like my guest, in fight or flight mode. She's going to teach us how, so stay tuned to the Secret Formula of Femininity for women who want to live a more feminine, fun, and fabulous life. I'm Dr. Nicole Monteiro, your host on this weekly journey to unlocking your inner radiance, nurturing fulfilling relationships, and becoming the best version of yourself. Well, welcome back, everybody. I am Dr. Nicole, your host and guide on this journey to tapping into your feminine essence. And I have an amazing guest today that's going to help us dig deep into that one shift to take you from fight or flight into more ease in your magnetic feminine energy. Her name is Dr. Staci A. Smith. Welcome, Dr. Staci. And I want to ask you one thing because I read so much of your material. I want to know, how did your early experiences shape how you view yourself as a woman? That's your whole thing, right? Like the little
Yep.
girl in you and how it shapes your identity.
Wow. Thank you so much, first of all, for having me. That's a huge question because it
Uh-huh.
has many facets we can go off in. But my my identity was shaped by outside forces saying, being who you are, happy, play by myself, energy, little girl, content was not correct.
Mm.
Whether it was the way I looked, even before I even was aware, the crayon I wanted to use, I was on a child show called Romper Room, if you remember that. And my
Uh-huh.
mother told me they kicked me off because I didn't want to use the green crayon. And I was that difficult kid. And I was like, no, I just don't like green. I want to use another color.
What color were
So
you using?
I don't know what I
Uh-huh.
wanted to use, but I knew it
Mhm.
wasn't green. And having that opinion, having that divergent way of being sent me into a series of events. First, it was what I looked like being the only Black child in school.
Mhm.
Then when we moved, my parents were like, "Well, you need to go to school with other Black kids." When I went to school with them, they told me I was Black on the outside and white on the inside and called me an Oreo, and I didn't even know what they were talking about.
Uh-huh.
So then it was the reinforcement was, "You must be different than you are." And yes, being tough became part of it. Performing became part of it.
Mhm.
And I actually created a little quiz called with to find out archetypes based on how we were as little kids. And I was a tomboy, so I had to be
Okay.
tough. I liked running
Uh-huh.
and jumping and being active, but I also had to be tough. And so that was my trauma response that I know now that didn't know then, to say, if I perform, if I'm good, strong, resilient, I don't let the outside affect me. But it always was affecting me because that wasn't how I always felt like being.
Yeah. Wow, that is so deep. And we're going to dig into this whole thing of like what you're told as a child and how that shapes how you believe you have to operate in the world. But you said something so interesting, which is you had to be tough. That was a trauma response, but also overachieving was a trauma response. And I think a lot of overachievers don't realize that we were started off doing it for validation and love and acceptance, and it just became a part of our identity. But I want to tell you a little bit about Dr. Staci to put some of this in context. So Dr. Staci is a hope empowerment coach and host of the Staci Speaks Hope podcast. She's passionate about helping women know that they are called to a greater purpose and to break free from the triggers that hold them back. She's an educator, school leader for 18 years, corporate career, but she was bused from an all mostly Black neighborhood into a white school.
No.
And from a,
Yeah, we actually just lived there. My parents
okay, you were
moved us
just
to the
lived
Bay Area,
there.
and we lived in this
Okay.
neighborhood.
And so that was a big change for you to go into that school. And then that was when you first started to realize that you were seen as different.
I was verbally assaulted
Okay. So it
while when I
was
was
pushed
7
in your
years old
face.
on the playground, playing by myself, happy and content, and 3 boys from the upper playground, the older kids, saw me and just started
Mm.
yelling and cussing at me. Everything was fine up to that point, but on that day, they just saw me for the first time,
Mhm.
and because I was different than everybody else, their reaction was to violently call me all kind of names, and I was just freaked out.
So what did you do when they did
I've
that?
been trying to remember that.
Uh-huh.
I know I was shocked. I don't know what I did. I know I went home and talked about it because I even
Mhm.
got to a point in my life where my mother was like, "If my daughter can't go to that school, nobody can." And in my mind,
Uh-huh.
for many years up until recently, I thought she had the school closed because it was that kind of response, like, "Absolutely not, unacceptable. My
Yes.
baby should be able to
We
go to
pay
this school
taxes
without all of that."
here. Mhm.
Absolutely. I actually ran up to Ruby Bridges and met her when there was an exhibit done for her in Oakland and said I had that same story. And obviously
Yeah.
not as extreme and exposed as hers, but I knew what that was like.
Yeah, yeah. Where did you grow up? Where was this?
In Northern California, the city was
Okay.
called Navarro where this happened,
Okay.
north of San
Okay.
Francisco.
Okay. Okay. Well, so this set the stage because Dr. Stacy is a survivor. She's a 17-year kidney transplant survivor. I didn't know that. And also a breast cancer survivor. So, whatever they tried to do when you were 7 and, bully you or tell you you were outside of the crayon color, expectations, they only made you stronger and more resilient.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Also, Dr. Stacy is committed to empowering others to live boldly and with purpose. And you have a relationship story as well, as far as knowing what it's like to be in fight or flight as a married person, but also as a woman who was divorced.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. What were you going to say about that?
I think, as I listened to your most recent podcast, it was my
Mhm.
identity of who I attracted, who I chose, how I was in the relationships as the overachiever in the relationship. I was
Mm.
also a person I was the stable one, and then I looked up and I was like, why can't you be for me what I need?"
Uh-huh.
But
Uh-huh.
I chose someone that was a project. I'm using your words again. I was all into that podcast because it was like, "Oh, she's all in my Kool-Aid," because it's just so prevalent that that identity is so pervasive in how I showed up in the world, my sense of lack. If
Mm.
anybody liked me, I didn't there was no vetting. It's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
you like me? Okay. Well, let
No
me find out a
standard.
little bit about you." No standard
Okay.
whatsoever. It was just like, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah.
And then all
Yeah.
of a sudden, and then in marriage, it's like, "Wait a minute. You the daddy. You supposed to do you the husband. You supposed" because I looked out, my father was a provider
Mhm.
and was the one that showed that example of a man who could take care of the family and had visions and dreams and then to marry people who some did, I mean, one didn't, and I was divorced twice.
Okay.
And then, like you talked about, no time in between.
Yeah.
And you just everything you talked about, she's like, I was thinking, good gracious. I
Well,
I
it
just like,
happened, it happens to
I
the
guess I'm
best
not
of
that
us.
unique, but it just was so relevant and
Yeah.
it shows
Yeah.
how the pattern and the cycle is. Well, how about just it's okay to be alone? How
Yeah.
about just
Yeah.
find who you are, love yourself again?
Mhm.
How about giving yourself away to someone who I walked away finally saying, I can't make someone happy who doesn't know how to be happy.
On their
It's not
own.
my
Yes.
job. And as a believer, it's like that has to come from God for me and for my husband.
Mhm. You
So
can't.
what am I doing? Holy
Well,
Spirit Junior, that position is not available, man. Go sit
that's
down.
that position is taken. But it's interesting because your story isn't like, well, everybody's story is unique, but something about your story, you had a father in the home. You had an example of, like your mother stood up for you. She wasn't going to take that at school. So she had boundaries and she was clear. about protecting you. You had a dad that you describe as a provider and a protector. Do you think that that experience starting off in school, like it shattered you to where you didn't follow what you saw at home?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I saw what I saw, there were, with even within that perfect setup,
Yes.
there were things my mother used to do. My sister and I would look at each other like, yeah, I'm not doing that. We laugh about that to this day. She's still married after 30 years.
To your dad?
And there was
Or, okay.
also just having a self-awareness, a self-value of what I needed and wanted. I think I got to the place where I was so desperate or so anti-rejection and desperate for acceptance that that bar was so low
Mm.
that everything above that was inconsequential.
Okay.
It
All the other
didn't say
baggage
so.
and mess and
No, didn't think of that at all. I dated a guy once and I used to think this was the weirdest statement, but it sticks with me to this day. He's like, if you like me, I love you. And if that is not the most extreme, desperate statement you ever
yes.
heard, but
Yes.
as I look back, I was like, that's how I functioned. I never would say it out loud. I never internalized it to the point that that's how I would describe myself. But maybe that's why I remembered it because deep down inside, I said, "Ooh, ouch."
You knew that that one. Well, what were
That
the things that your mom did that you and your sister were like, oh no? Because I hear this from women too,
it,
that they didn't want to emulate their moms in some ways.
putting herself last. My mother came
Mm-hmm.
from a family of 12 kids, so
Okay.
imagine watching her mother do look like.
Yes.
You know, the last piece of this or the plate that had the chip in it. We were just like, nope,
Mm-hmm.
not doing that. And it was just small things that were just reflective of I don't deserve the best.
Okay. Yes.
I'm in the list, but the list is long. And so by the time we get to where I am on the list, whatever's left is whatever's left.
And
So I think it was both.
people, yeah. And so were you, so you were conscious of that. Like you
Yeah.
literally said, I'm not,
As,
you didn't know
as a
what
little
you wanted,
girl.
but you know you didn't want that.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yeah.
So there were things that I saw, emotional availability. My dad, being a black man in the corporate world, was getting his butt kicked daily.
Mm-hmm.
So when he came home, there was not a lot of ooey gooey left. And he was in HR, so he was
Okay.
the company
Dealing with
scapegoat for
people.
anything that went wrong. He only dealt with people when stuff went wrong, or he was
Yeah.
protecting people from the company who was doing people wrong. So he was just in that place. So I got to see that as daddy's here, but can we talk to him right now?
Yeah.
We didn't talk
Yeah.
to him for a while when he got home from work. And as little girls, we didn't get that at all. It's like, what's wrong with him? That's our daddy. He should want to come and
Mm-hmm.
play with us.
And see,
So
this is the part of achievement that I think a lot of people don't understand because they hear family doing well enough financially to move into a great school district and get an education for their kids. Dad moving up the corporate ladder. Mom there supportive, having a voice for her daughters. Like they hear these things and they don't really look at the inside about how you could still end up feeling like you're in survival mode, having to do all
absolutely.
these things to be loved.
Yes. And even so much so, I remember I got a C in PE in high school.
Mm.
And my dad said, I fire people like that every day. He didn't have to do nothing else. I was devastated
Yes, yes.
because I
Because
was
you
athletic.
disappointed him.
Definitely not my best. I was being mediocre and he just called me on it, but in a way that just slashed like, oh, ouch.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh. So in my own mind, I was performing for love, even from my parents. And this is a more recent revelation
Yeah, yeah.
that if I didn't do blah, 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 they wouldn't blah, blah, blah. And it applied everywhere. And so that striving to achieve, which is becomes exhausting, overachieving. Achieving is
Yeah.
one thing. Overachieving is going
Yes.
above and beyond what is necessary
Or
and
even helpful, right? Like
healthy.
there's
Health,
a
I was gonna
point.
say
Yeah.
physically, it just gets to be too much because if that's where
Mhm.
you always are,
Mhm.
then there's never any time of rest. There's an inability to rest. My kidneys failed because I had high blood pressure at 17.
Really? So
I found out because we moved to Connecticut from California because
okay.
my dad's job got transferred, and he was with the Xerox corporate headquarters. I was like, "Connecticut? What are you talking about?" I'm in California. It's like, I don't need to know where Connecticut is.
Yes,
I'm
to
sorry.
go
I
to
live in
that cold
California.
place.
So, even that affected me physically, and that's what I say. All the emotions that we are not able to express, they go somewhere. The body
Yeah,
doesn't lie. The body keeps score.
the score, uh-huh.
It went into my organs, and we don't
And
know
you were
blood pressure, kidneys.
17 with
I was
blood pressure, uh-huh. And when were your kidneys when did your kidneys
my
start?
kidneys failed a couple months after my son was born, so I was early 30s,
Okay,
barely 30.
yeah,
But I had tests that let me know I had a 33% chance that my kidneys would be affected if I had a baby. Didn't think about it till after all that happened.
yeah.
And so my body was attacking my kidneys as if they were foreign.
And we know
No diabetes.
yes, that it comes from stress, internalized anger, resentment.
And my journey to my little girl began, which you mentioned anger, when I was 52, because I was in a church deliverance process program. And I was
Mhm.
like, but I'm still so angry.
Mm.
And I knew that that anger needed to be addressed. And what I realized is back to that, I didn't even think about that 7-year-old
Yeah,
until then. And that was the awakening of first, I was scared, then I was confused,
uh-huh.
and then I became angry.
Wow.
And the anger then was reinforced because when we moved away from where I was the only black child to where I lived across the street from the school that the other black kids got bused to. So still I was the anomaly black girl in that way
Okay, because
also.
they were bust, but you lived there.
Yes. Yes, because the dynamics, like, the other side of the tracks here is hill flatlands. So I lived in
Okay.
the hills.
Uh-huh.
They had to catch the bus up to the hill. I walked across the street, and I talked like a white girl. Oh, they was not having it.
That's right for bullying right there
It
in
was
the
a
eight.
setup. I'm
Yes.
like, "Y'all thought you was helping me. You actually made it worse." And then my mother would call their mothers, and I was like, "Oh my god, you cannot do that, or Imma have to
Mm,
go
yeah.
fight again tomorrow." And I would
And you
answer
were
the
literally
phone.
fighting.
Oh, they would all turn against me
Yeah, yeah,
and fight, and I didn't even know what was going on, and so I got beat up many times until finally in 6th grade, I was like, "You know what? I'm about tired of this." And I used some expletives, and it was a totally different situation.
yeah. And Dr.
But that was
Stacy
3
is a
years.
petite person, yeah, so I can imagine what
Like,
they
I got
put you through.
guns. I was like, "No,
You have heart, uh-huh.
I have heart. I just couldn't take it anymore."
Yeah.
And so
So
the
you
anger
mhm.
was this burning, unmet, unresolved frustration inside of me that I couldn't explain until I
And you
found
weren't
out.
aware of it. Were you aware of it over the decades? Like, how were you functioning? Of course, you high achieved, you got married, you had kids, career. When did you realize this anger was there?
So from I mean, I was not aware of the anger. In high school, middle school, I used to dream about fighting. In high
Uh-huh.
school, I would go up to anybody, no matter how big they were. Yeah, I'm 5'4" now. I probably wasn't quite there yet then, and I was like Fresh Prince told Ashley, "Be acting crazy so they leave you alone." I was her.
Mhm.
Punched the locker, punched the bathroom wall, door and home. Just so frustrated, so volatile. So that person that would just flash, that was me,
Yeah.
and
And
just had no explanation for it. And then when I was prepubescent, I was look at me sideways, I would cry. "Why are you crying?" "I don't know." Because the limited range of expression of emotions was
yes.
happy, sad, angry. That's it.
So you couldn't even
3
express the
flavors, strawberry,
confusion
vanilla,
or the
hot
uh-huh. That's it.
no 31 flavors here. No
Mhm.
box of crayons like like Jason Wilson talks about. I'm like, "No, I was the girl with the 3 box of crayons. I didn't have 8
Yeah.
colors, like men even. I only had 3."
And what your sister, how old was your sister? You
My sister's 4 years younger than me.
okay. What was she like? Did she take after you as far as those emotional expressions?
No, no. She probably
Mm-hmm.
looked at me like, "My sister crazy. Let me just not do that." Because I
Okay.
mean, as we were measuring what our mom did and said, "I'm not gonna do that," she probably did the same.
Yeah.
She's definitely, temperament-wise, she didn't go through that experience, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the fitting in, she actually fit in better with the Black kids most of the time. She just was more down to earth. Maybe I was just more high strung, and
Mm.
I know my energy precedes me in spaces, and I guess it
So
always
you,
did. I didn't know
yeah.
it then. I didn't know what to do with it. She's much more mellow, and she does the opposite. She won't cry in front of people. Even to this day, that's not her thing. It's more internalized, but has words. She had
Okay.
words very early. At 3, I remember
Mm-hmm.
saying to my mother, "I know I'm gonna get in trouble, but I'm gonna tell you I did such and such and such." And it called my mother by her first name, and she's like, "Well, that's your name, isn't it?" It's very
That's very
logical.
precocious, very smart. Yeah, gifted kids are
Yeah,
like
and she's the
that.
CEO of her company now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, she did HR like my dad. She followed in his footsteps, but she just had a different way of managing her emotions.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe partly in watching the way I did was not
Yeah. Yeah.
the way to go.
So your kidneys failed after you have your child. You have a transplant. And you said, did you know this woman? I was reading
Yeah, the
your.
transplant story is the miracle. So my
Okay.
kidneys failed and I didn't go on dialysis. Well, somebody prayed for me and God said to me, "The healing is done. It might not look like it right away, but the healing is done." I didn't have the transplant until 13 years later.
So
In
you
the
were
midst of
about
that,
almost 50 or 40
I was in
something.
40 something, yeah.
Uh-huh.
'Cause my yeah, 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 mid-40s.
Mm-hmm.
And m my my sister knew the woman's best friend who offered me the kidney. She called me and offered me a kidney because she had seen her husband give a kidney to his father.
Okay.
So she had seen how transplantation benefited somebody who was very sick. And I hadn't been very sick. I was on dialysis for 5 years. I did the kind of dialysis you could do at home. So
Okay.
even on dialysis, I was praise dancing and I'm like, "Hang on, y'all. It's time for me to start dialysis." And I put the tube to my stomach and put the bag of the solution on top of the audio booth. And
Mhm.
yeah, I could drain down and they were just looking at me. So even in that sickness, I didn't stop. They didn't know most of the time people didn't know I was the patient.
Did you
I
would
looked at
even
pictures over the
okay.
years because of what happens to your blood and my skin was dark, but I
Okay.
didn't slow down
You
much.
didn't look okay. It wasn't like you went there 3 times a week. Like that's
No,
what I
I
know
did
of
that
dialysis.
only for a month, and
Mhm.
they were like, "You can't eat." I'm like, "It's lunchtime. I'm hungry. I'm going to eat." Just from day 1. So
Yeah.
being hard-headed, defiant, whatever you wanna call it, that was what kept me going, and my dad and I joke, he's like, "You're stubborn." I was like, "I'm alive today because of it, because I
Yeah.
would not accept the diagnosis as my identity.
Yeah.
Dialysis clinics are the most depressing places I go to have ever been
Mhm.
to. I haven't been in
Mhm.
a chemo, center, but it's in that space. I mean, and most half the people in there are diabetic.
Yeah.
I wasn't
Yeah.
diabetic. Blood pressure obviously affects your kidneys. They don't know what the order is of those things happening. But so I just did not allow myself to slow down because I felt good enough to keep going. When
Mhm.
I didn't feel well over the years, my energy level was less. And I only could tell that was after I had the transplant. And I remember just like family gatherings, holidays, and I would just, oh, I had the energy to help clean up after and, cook and
You didn't realize that you were on an empty tank all those
no,
years. 13
no, it's
years.
because it
Yeah.
slowly went down over time.
And then you were
Slowly came back
diagnosed.
up.
And when were you diagnosed with cancer?
That was 23,
Okay. Okay.
breast
And
cancer, and the miracles of the story is what they diagnosed was not there when I had the surgery. So I say I'm a miracle recipient on both cases. Now, the diagnosis is still in my chart and all of that
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
but
But the
and
actual tumor or whatever they were going to operate on was not there.
was not there.
Yeah.
And the medical field
Wow.
doesn't write it up that way, but
Yeah.
that's what I know to be true. I mean,
It's
at one
very
night
clinical, like during the
mhm,
surgical
diagnosis happened,
procedure.
and
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Mhm.
I'm like, "What did the
Mhm.
pathology say?" You have to put match that with the diagnosis. Come on,
Yeah.
because that affects my
So,
ability to get life insurance and long-term care and all kind of stuff
mhm.
that I'm running into now as I'm, really making those kind of plans. My parents are in
Yeah.
their 90s, they're still alive. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, if I'm still alive, I'm gonna need some stuff."
Yeah. There's a lot of resilience that runs through your family. Like that's part, and I'm curious about, and through you, at what point did your identity shift? Because it sounds like at one point your identity is like not good enough. Like I have to do all this stuff to be worthy. And it sounds like at some point it shifted to something else.
I think it was gradual, and they were
Mm-hmm.
late. I mean, what I called my kidney story was healings, because in that, it was like, yeah, there was the medical stuff, but who Stacy was and how I trusted God through that time. I mean, to hear in 1995 that the healing is done and to believe it and not see the manifestation of it till 2008.
Mm. So we're
I
talking, yeah.
I told my ex-husband to take me off the transplant list, and he thought I was nuts. But I'm like, "No, God said he was gonna heal me." I'm very childlike in that way of like, "But God,
Yeah.
what you said."
So you have a strong, it's like a, I'm saying naivete, not in a negative way, but like a child has a level of expecting the best, like even out of horrible circumstances. And it seems like you just kept that all along.
I
Mm-hmm,
did.
mm-hmm,
And I
mm-hmm.
think that's what kept me young. While I was on dialysis and went through a whole thing with kidney stuff, I got my teaching credential, started working with that's when I started teaching. I worked with middle school, so I have middle school energy. I'm
Okay.
6'2". I have middle school energy. I'm happy about that.
And if you're not watching, you need to go watch the video to see Dr. Stacy. I do not see 62 anywhere in terms of just the physical looks as well as the energy and the positivity. So what was there a conscious intentional shift you made? Because like you took us from like what happened when you were 7 and then, the things in your family. You guys moved and 17, you realize you're angry and all this stuff. But was there an intentional mental or emotional shift that you made
I
to
think it
go
was
get in a
it
better
was
place?
sorry. I think it started with spiritual,
Mm-hmm.
um, because, like, if I love God like I say I do, how can I be this mad?
Mm.
And knowing that good things were happening. Okay, so I was post transplant, post my child. The divorces were over, and I had gone on with my life. I I didn't feel unlovable, but maybe there was still some of that in there, and it's still been even as I wrote my No More Lies workbook, and it challenges us to find our little girl, find out what the lies were that she believed, because the
Mm.
lies are the seeds that get planted to say, when people reject you, you're not lovable.
Okay.
When you
That's
have to
the lie.
perform to be
Uh-huh.
loved, that's the lie.
Yeah.
When you have to perform, if you don't perform, you're not good enough. And so and you're always gonna have somebody better than you. So when you're
Yeah.
performing, even that is like that's a moving target. And then finding the truth to replace the lies, canceling the lies with the word of God, with your belief system, with affirmations. All of those things are in my workbook and journals,
Yeah.
because to be empowered to become what God called me to be is what the essence of this is. And so I'm
Mm.
still walking this out, still living this out, still seeing it unfold more and more and more. And it has been just an explosion. So I would say probably in like 2020 is when I started getting the downloads for my life coaching business. Stacy
Okay.
Speaks Hope. Hope is actually an acronym.
Oh, what is it for? What does it stand for?
Healing your inner wounds,
Uh-huh.
opening your heart to dream and to love, pursuing your passion and your purpose, and becoming empowered to become. To
Mm.
be empowered to become whatever God called me to be. That become is dot, 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 and that was when Michelle Obama came out with becoming.
Yeah,
Just
that was her
and
book,
so we
right?
don't even
Mhm.
know yet
Yeah,
because all that other stuff is in the way. I can't even dream. Think of how many people can't dream. You ask how many women, what do they want? They can't answer
yeah. But they
because
have
of
a
that.
long to-do list or a long achievements list or a
Right.
long whatever list
And
of
this,
tangible
I
things.
don't know what I want
Mhm.
because am I afraid to ask for it because of disappointment that I might not get it? I was in that camp for a long time.
Mm. What things were you afraid that you would be disappointed by or that you wouldn't get?
Well, certainly the marriage scenario.
Mhm.
I had a great love in college, but we didn't get married. And so to me, I wanted to love, I wanted to marry my best friend.
Okay. He was your best friend? Like that was the
He
nature
became
of
my best friend. I mean, it was like all in
yeah.
one.
Uh-huh.
Somebody who looks at you and you just suddenly feel better about yourself because they see something in you that just elevates as opposed to that other experience of people look at you and you're, oh, you're bad, you're wrong, you're different. Different can be good
Yeah.
and celebrated.
So what happened? Now you know we want the details. What you didn't marry, it sounds like this love of your early love of your life
Uh-huh.
from college. Why didn't you guys get married?
We didn't get married because he was, well, had his checklist of achievements.
Okay, okay.
So he wanted to go to grad school before he got married, and then
Mhm.
he came back to ask me to marry him, and I was already engaged to the
Okay.
other person that I married, my first husband, and he married somebody who looked so much like me. It was hilarious, and so it was
So
just one of
you were
those.
his great love, yeah. But
Yeah.
you moved on and you got married. How long did your first marriage last?
Oh, my marriage was. I think here's my short story.
Okay. Yeah.
I've been unhappily married for 7 years
Mm.
to two men. And they were
Okay.
back to back. So they
Yeah.
were all 2 plus, counting the
Uh-huh.
6 months to let it barely that, and I was literally on the plane coming home from business trips crying the first
Because you were
time, and I was like,
miserable.
"I can't do this." And I said, "God, I know you hate divorce, but I don't have the faith to stay in this. I don't have
Mm.
the faith to find out what it takes to even have this come to anything better than what it is." I was so miserable.
A lot. Could you say like what was it? Because I hear you hear this even if you go online. There's people saying like, "Oh, he's a great guy." We have on the outside we have this that. What is it? The white picket fence, a
Right,
dog,
right.
and 2.5 kids, or like the whole
Right, right.
thing. But I'm miserable. Is it like that the communication wasn't there? You didn't feel as connected as with the first one? I mean,
Um,
your college boyfriend.
college I think well, first of all, own his own self-identity was
Hmm.
was broken, um, and I think his inability to communicate, he would just withdraw, and then the other thing was we lived a life that was my life experience and not his. So
Okay.
I bet every day he was like fish out of water. I was
Okay.
in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, very, very different environment. And so
Yeah.
one thing that's very important in that finding that life middle ground is like when you come together with someone, how important it is to create that neutral space. You have what the sum of what your parents' relationship was, his parents' relationship was, and then you put it together. And if what you had was not an example you want to follow, you got nothing.
Yeah, you're just like, I don't. And that's one of the hardest places to be in is like being reactive and say, I don't want to be this without a vision of what you do
Yes.
want.
What's the replacement?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is like, you were an example of like people not even probably looking at you from the outside looking in, having no clue of what's going on inside with you. Because
Oh,
you look happy, you look like you're moving up the ladder, so to speak, and you're coming home crying.
and worse, it was in the 80s when was it Essence talking about love across the class lines. So I grew up middle class,
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
and
They say get
and
a working class in
I got
there.
a working class. He was
Uh-huh.
the dude from the mailroom.
Okay.
Great guy, nice
Yeah.
man. But we were just like our life experience.
Yeah. You know
So
what,
when
Dr. Stacy, that is power. I don't hear a lot of people talking about that. But I think it is so important because yeah, the other people will feel inadequate and resentful of you, and you're just being yourself. And just, I'm imagining, like, because even when you were growing up, whether it was the white kids or the black kids, they were mad at you just for you being, and it made them feel a certain way.
right, so imagine to marry that,
Yeah,
devastating.
yeah.
I remember my dad called me once, and I just burst into tears, and I just like just to hear the voice of somebody who knew me and loved me,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
just and I knew
Yeah.
when I hugged him the last time because I went found a church out there and wanted to get married in the church, and my family came. But the last time I hugged him, I said in my head, my life as I know it will never be the same.
You can tell.
I wanted my dad to tell me, don't go, don't
Yeah.
do it. And,
So,
love our kids. We don't want to make them upset.
mm-hmm. And you have to, at some point, everybody tells you, you know, your kids have to live their own life. You can't
Exactly.
dictate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did all of this affect your view of like being a woman and femininity? Because that's something like that you talk about. It's like the little girl and how she views femininity. For you, it sounds like you rejected some of it at first.
I, well, there were several layers of it. My most recent epiphany with, and two, Mel Robbins interviewed Jason Wilson on
Oh, okay.
Men Suffering
I
in
mean,
Silence.
uh,
Have to watch it. It's amazing. But what it unearthed for me and two of my family members, female family members, was he talked about the toxic masculinity behaviors, and we had those
as women.
as women.
So you're thinking everybody's telling the men to stop being toxic.
It
And you,
was because as black women, we still did all kind of stuff. Married,
yeah.
unmarried. They were well married, one husband died, one still married. And we still thought we had to be strong, right? We can't show
Mm-hmm.
our emotions.
Yeah.
The same messages that black men are told, or men in general are told, black women are told the same thing. Because you got too much emotion. You're an angry black woman. You're a crazy black. You
Mm-hmm.
just you can't be
Or you're a weak black woman. Like either
right.
you're depressed, you're weak. That's for
Yes,
white
yes.
people. That's
Any
not for
emotion.
you. Yeah.
You just let it. Yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh.
You can't
Uh-huh.
feel. You just keep doing. Keep going. Push yourself past how you feel. Nobody cares how you feel. Just keep going.
Yeah.
So all of that sends the same message, shows up in the same way. So being a tomboy was partly because having all this energy, undiagnosed ADHD, and I wanted my dad's attention. So I did stuff to get dad's attention.
Stuff that you thought he would like.
Football, and then I did sports. I was gymnastics, track,
Mm-hmm.
but it was driven by one, needing to move to express, to get out my energy, but also, yes, trying to make that connection. And I did not have the interest. My little sister was the doll person and the Barbies, and I would play that stuff with her just because I was her big sister and I loved her. But I was like, oh, I hate this so bad. This is
Mm-hmm.
not fun.
Mm-hmm.
So it really wasn't. Movement was what gave me joy. And it's funny because again, I made a little quiz, and the archetype is the resilient mover.
Okay. Oh, and that's what you were.
And I
That was how you
was
uh-huh.
and am. I will confess.
Yes.
And the underside of that is if I keep moving, I won't feel the feelings.
Yeah.
It's a good way to disconnect. So I was so attracted to your message and your ministry, or your vision of what you talk about is femininity. Because what have I told myself
Mm.
about femininity? Is it weak? Do I want to? Do I believe I have that soft side in me that's not a secret? My soft side has been secretive.
Mm. Who had
Can I
access to
expose
it?
her?
Who
Mm,
did you expose her to? Was it your son or your one of your
as a mother, for
husbands?
sure. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Um, before that in relationship until it got used against me, right?
Okay. Yeah.
You expose that, and then there's this, there's the men who use that as a weapon,
Hmm.
beat you up with your own soft secrets. Um, but yeah, she was
Yeah,
very,
yeah.
very protected.
So you recognize the toxic masculinity within yourself. I just have to say that out loud because I don't think a lot of women would have like would be able to say that, admit that. So it was like not showing emotion, not wanting to be vulnerable, suppressing it sounds like your feelings. What were some of the other things that you recognized?
Not asking for help, not
Mm-hmm.
admitting. Yeah, I mean, not even being able to admit you're wrong, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm bad or wrong or weak. It pretty much lumps into those categories. It's like
Yeah.
I ain't no punk, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that got you
So
through, like that
yeah,
initial trauma, that little girl story. You just get punched in the face for no reason, or you get
yeah,
teased just for being you. Like, yeah, it got you through.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and it took. I don't. I'm still looking for just bit by bit. It grew over time that I didn't necessarily want to be that way,
Uh-huh.
but that was the way that was survival. It was a survival tactic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it became almost a self-fulfilling prophecy to just keep living into that. That just became the way I reacted. I mean, even in the corporate world, there was the corporate world. I was in banking of all things. So in
Oh.
Pennsylvania, in working for Mellon Bank, the women in the management training program I was in, they wore Brooks Brothers, which were men's suits cut for women's bodies. If you wore certain kind of shoes, certain color shoes, they would. If you wore red shoes, they would call you everything but a prostitute on
Uh-huh.
the street. And,
Yes.
and that was like
Gosh.
culture.
Yeah.
That was accepted among
Normalize.
culture.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, all the things that subtly reinforce these negative images, I said, this is the way to be. You got
Mm-hmm.
to be tough. And I've been a manager. I was trained to be a manager as soon as I got out of college. I went into that management training program. So you got
Yeah.
to, men play golf and all the deals that are done in those other spaces. So you had to show up a different kind of way. Or they said you slept your way to the top.
Mm.
Femininity was a weapon that women
We
used
used it. Uh-huh.
get what they wanted, but it wasn't ever honored.
Yeah. It would be used against, it would be turned against them. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like toxic femininity.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
And the fact that
you,
me and my family members all came up with the statement, all recognized without talking to each other about the toxic masculinity, let me know. It's like, and each for ourselves, not even each
yes,
other.
you weren't talking about each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's deep.
Yeah.
Well, I
Because we
have
saw it in our
met,
mother.
well, okay. So what did, because I was going to say that I have seen that with women where they have had a mother that they look back and say she was very soft or she had parts of her. But there were parts of her I didn't want to be like at all. So I went totally opposite to the other end of the spectrum. Like they felt like they didn't understand if their mom, you know, they felt like it was weak, as you
Yeah.
said.
Yeah. I mean, the tears.
Mm-hmm.
My mother was the crier, and even her sisters, treated her like she was porcelain.
Mm,
Crying is just an expression. I got to the place where I used to tell guys, it's like, if you don't cry, you shouldn't laugh.
that's interesting. Yeah.
It's
If you can't
respect
do
for what
one,
you did
uh-huh.
do. Right. That's how common tears should be able to be because laughter is.
Yeah, yeah.
But we cut the continuum so short that you be either stoic, angry, or happy.
Mm-hmm. And it
And that's
sounds
why
like your
depression
mom
and
had more
anxiety
of an,
are so common.
yeah.
I mean, of course,
So was she
good for her.
depressed? Well, no, but what, so would you, so she did have emotional expression.
She did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it was even in with her sisters as a girl.
It was
She was the fragile
ostracized.
one because she cried.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we were like, "Oh, well, crying isn't the thing to do, clearly,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
everybody thinks you're a wimp." And crying was not articulation of communication. There were no words, or there were angry words
Uh-huh.
because
So
I
it didn't
don't know how
match.
to get it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I really feel, what I really want to say, what I really want to tell you about what just happened, I don't have the language for because I never learned it.
Mhm.
And if I don't learn it, I can't teach it.
And so your kids are just left
So
to
now it's a
try to figure.
generational thing.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So
So
how
when
did
I
you figure out the words? I mean, you were clearly very bright growing up, but like how did you learn emotional vocabulary?
I learned coaching,
Mhm. Mhm.
that was first. I always liked to write. I would have my secret outdoor place I would go and sit and cry and pray, and it, I could say it, but not to people. I would always be able to write it. Um, and but there was still the disconnect. It was like, this is me in my little isolated space, but it wasn't to somebody. I might be able to write a letter. I used to remember writing a couple letters to my parents, trying to tell them how I felt. But if they didn't know how to respond, then it was like, what do I do with this? This isn't helpful. If they don't have the answer back,
Mhm.
why did I waste my time, or why did I put myself out there? So when I started coaching, it was the first time. And that's when I was like, oh, this filled in the gaps. I was ready to walk off my job in the weeks before school started as a principal at an art school that I had been at.
Uh-huh.
And I was there 13 years, and I was just ready to be like, forget it. I just can't do this anymore
Yeah.
because I was feeling the pressure of living into this identity of, the male personification of how I showed up, even in an art space where everybody could be
Mm.
super creative and I have all these
Yeah.
weird identities,
You
except
were confined, except
yeah,
you felt like
yeah, yeah,
you were in
yeah.
leadership or
Yep,
yeah,
yep.
yeah.
Leadership, black and the black woman, not
Uh-huh.
one of them. I mean, there was one, and she was in a different space, and so we didn't work together, and just it was very strange, and that was really the first time I really was able to feel into and say what I needed to say, and that was kinda just opened and made the connection between the spiritual identification that I had to, like, I know something's in here and I need to get it out, but
Mhm.
it still didn't there was nowhere even in the church
Where
that
you could
helped me bridge that gap and bring the language forth and be able to say the things that are unpopular to say. I mean,
mm.
you can't say when people ask you how you're doing, "Oh, I'm blessed and highly favored."
Oh, yeah.
Actually, I'm broke and toe up right now, and
Uh-huh.
I'm
I'm at
barely
rock
here,
bottom.
but
Yeah.
you already finished walking past me because you really didn't wanna know.
Mm. 'Cause
'Cause
it
you don't
brings
have the
up your
capacity
own
to respond if I
brokenness.
tell you anything, but I'm blessed and
Yeah.
highly favored, so what are we gonna do here?
And then it
So being
triggers other
more
people's it's too
yeah,
much.
yeah,
Your honesty triggers other people's
yeah, yeah.
inadequacy. Yeah.
Yes.
So how do you help women? Like you know the story, and I'm sure so many people are going to relate to this. Like, how do you help a woman who, at whatever stage, recognizes that she's stuck in an identity that no longer works for her?
I help her think back to what she was really like. That's why the little girl,
Mm,
if you look at little girls, I mean, and there's major traumas that happen to people very, very young, but I look at
yeah.
my granddaughter who's 3 and how she just walks around being completely content and just all is well.
Yeah.
And we have or when there were things that made you block that out, let me help you remember. What made you smile? I use the phrase in my workbook, micro delights. What
Yes.
made you smile? Was it when you close your eyes and you can see your eyelids were red because the sun was hitting them? Or climbing that tree, or holding that doll, or eating your favorite ice cream? The tiny little things, because when life has been traumatic, people always often go back to just the bad stuff.
Yeah. And the big bad stuff,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah. And to
mhm.
remind her, your little girl whatever she did in response to that traumatic thing, she was taking care of you. She was protecting you. She wanted you to feel safe and loved, and she did only what she knew how to do at that age.
Mhm.
Because what blew my mind, Dr. Nicole, was when I was 52 and realized there were parts of my life my 7-year-old was running. That was a problem.
Even as a grown woman, it was your 7-year-old who was
If I felt
dictating.
that same feeling,
Yes.
there she was.
Mhm.
This is what you do, sweetie girl. It's okay, baby. And learning
Mhm.
how to console her, honor her for what
Be
she did,
soft with her. Uh-huh.
be soft with her, give her
Mhm.
the compassion that she needed, give her the hug that she needed in that moment when other people outside told you you weren't okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's okay. They don't know you like I do. I love you, baby girl. You're good. Now you can go play. I got this. She won't feel like she needs to rise up.
Mm. It's so I don't know if you've ever did something in the psychology field called internal family systems and parts work, and it's like really honoring that we all have different parts. But what you're doing sounds so much like that. Like as a grown person, you can still have the perspective to see that part of you, the
Mhm.
7-year old, and then maybe the 17-year old, and the different stages that needs to be heard and seen and not just told, shut up, go away. I'm 52 now. I don't want to hear from you.
Yes.
So that is so
I'm not a
powerful.
therapist. I'm it just as a certified life coach. I
But
this
that
is
is
so much
powerful.
of what God has just downloaded to me, and
Mm,
I've interviewed a lady on my podcast who does that, and I was like,
yes.
"Oh."
You're like,
So
I'm doing that with women.
I'm doing that. Yes. I can't wait to have you as my guest to just
Yes.
talk about it more because it is so integral to the developmental steps, just
Hmm.
like we see in
Hmm.
education, right? You have to be where you are. Your zone of proximal development is where you
Yes.
are right
Yes.
now. And that needs to be stretched. But as we feed into that through our pain, it unlocks something in your heart, your mind, your spirit to say, okay, that was then. And now you get to go beyond that. You
Hmm.
give yourself permission to feel and to heal.
So, what would be that one shift, like for somebody walking away from this and they need to know, like, yes, I've been in survival mode, I've been proving myself throughout my life, or I've been suppressing how I feel and I feel trapped in that. Like the shift what's the core shift that they need to even, because what I found is for even for people to even open themselves up for coaching or help, they have to make an internal shift first, because otherwise they're like, I don't need that, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
What is the shift that they have to make for
I think the
themselves?
shift is being still and quiet in yourself and really listening. Does this feel good or does it feel like if you didn't do it, what would happen? I asked a lady I was coaching, if you didn't fix everything, what would happen?
Mm,
Burst into tears
wow.
because her identity was so attached to fixing, doing for everybody else that she didn't know who she would be without that.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, who will you be if you aren't overachieving? Who will love you? Will you love yourself?
Yeah. Forget the other people, huh? Will you love
Yeah,
yourself?
it's got to be that.
Yeah.
If you're a believer, you know that God loves you, but do you love yourself? Can you even receive that love? The
Mm,
spiritual love. Can you femininity is being able to give and receive love.
yeah.
And in my life experience it has been longing for that, but blocking it simultaneously.
Mm,
If you to get what you really want, something's got to change. You're not bad or wrong because you did what you did. You did that because that's all you knew to do at the time.
yeah.
But give
Yeah.
yourself permission to actually have an opportunity to have what you really, really want. That you want so bad you're afraid to say it out loud
Mm. Because
for
even
fear that
that
you
is
won't
a
get it.
risk. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yes.
Disappointment, rejection. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, I think that is we're gonna have to do a part two of this to dig into like how to get a person to really ask themselves, do I love myself? What do I truly want? Am I willing to take the risk to even name it and open
Yes.
myself up to it? Yes. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Dr. Stacy. How can people reach you? Should they follow you on, is there a social media platform, website?
Yes. Stacy Speaks Hope is the website or the podcast and Instagram. And my website is staciajacksonsmith.com.
Okay, and we'll put all of the we'll put the links in the show notes. And if anybody has heard this and you're ready to make a shift, you're ready to change the little girl or honor her. It's not even change her, right? To honor
Yes.
her and allow her to speak and to reach the next stage of your identity, then make sure you reach out to Dr. Stacy. Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure, and we will certainly have you back.
Thank you so much. And it has been
Okay.
my pleasure.
Take
Been looking
care.
forward to this.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining everybody. And don't forget, you can find my book, The Boundaries to Bliss Blueprint for Women Who Are Finally Ready to Win at Love. That will also be in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you the next time. I'm Dr. Nicole.